Today, we are interviewing Sandra Nomoto, a vegan content writer, editor, and author in Vancouver. She's the author of a new book, Vegan Marketing Success Stories. This is the first book to highlight the marketing tactics of vegan businesses around the world. And it was ranked in the top 100 Kindle books in the business skills communications category on Amazon Canada the week it was released. And that is an amazing feat. I'm excited to hear about this book, but I want to hear about you first. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thanks so much for that lovely intro, Meg. I'm so honored to be on your podcast. Um, I've grown up most of my life in Vancouver, Canada, and like most vegans, grew up eating meat, seafood, dairy, etc. What should I say? Grew up in a Catholic school for 13 years. I don't really follow that religion now, although I consider myself spiritual. And then after graduating with a degree in English Lit and Film Studies, I started my career in public relations. I went from intern to assistant to the partners of a local Vancouver public relations firm, learned everything I know about the practice today at that company, and then decided to start my own business. So my first business, Conscious PR, I ran for just over a decade from 2008 to 2018. And coincidentally, that coincided very much with my vegan journey. So after closing that business in 2018, I thought that I wanted to stay away from marketing. I was freelancing for a few local companies, just doing admin work for about a year and a half. They kept asking me to write because they knew I had those skills.
Right.
And then I sat down to meditate at the end of 2019. So this is just before the pandemic, and just got that booming intuitive voice that said, "You're vegan now and you're always going to be writing." So put those two things together. And that it was the start of the business I run today as the content doctor. So, aiming to write content for vegan businesses specifically. And because I had some success in those first 2 years, despite the pandemic, I made the commitment at the start of 2022 to only work with vegan businesses. So, in terms of business clients, that's my ideal client. But then I also have authors as clients. And of course, I would love to work with vegan authors, but I welcome others as well. And I have a number of services that I offer to them. So you mentioned the book. That's my latest project that came out fall 2022. And that brings me to today.
That's amazing. I love it. I love it so much. I also love that you have writing and being vegan together because they're also two things that I'm passionate about. So, and I also work in marketing. So we're kind of, like soul sisters here. So I'm pretty excited about that. But I want to hear about
Awesome.
this book because, again, it just fits my world so much. And it's the only one that talks about this subject. So tell me about vegan marketing success stories.
Yeah, so this came about around the time of my birthday in 2021. I had an intuitive reading. I usually do this around the time of my birthday. And I said, what do the spirit guides have to say for me this year? And she said, they say you're going to write a book. And I went, what? Like I had one book under my belt,
Right.
but just no ideas at the time in terms of what I could possibly be working on. But I kept thinking about what I could possibly, do work on my next book in terms of topics. And I just thought about what I was interested in. Like as a
Right.
vegan, as a new vegan, I've always been interested in how businesses market themselves, even before becoming vegan. And so I thought about this idea in the summer of 2021, did some Googling, and there was really only one book out there about vegan business called Vegan Ventures by Katrina Fox. So she published this in 2016. And of course I bought it, checked it out, and her book is pretty much the same formula that I was thinking to do for my own book, basically collect a lot of case studies.
Right.
And she did have a few chapters on marketing, but the majority of her book is about how to run a vegan business. So I just I was so inspired by her book that I
Right.
decided to then, take those few chapters that she started on and then flesh that out into an entire book. So I started reaching out at the end of September 2021, emailing for requests for case studies. And then by the start of the start of 2022, the book was written. So the manuscript had come together.
Amazing. And you have 47 contributors. That's
That's
insane.
right. For
Wow.
yeah, my goal was 50, and initially I was like, if I reach out to 200 companies, I'll probably hit that 50. The list at the end ended up being almost 280 companies to get that 47.
Right.
But because there were gaps in terms of the marketing tactics that I talk about in my book, and I wanted at least one example for each tactic, I
Hmm.
just went off on my own and did some more internet searching and got permission from more companies to include their examples. So in total, you'll, and on top of the 47 that who contributed, you'll see another 40 to around 40 to 50 additional examples.
Wow.
So yeah, so a lot of examples you'll get out of this book.
That's amazing. Amazing. So I want to hear like what do you hope to accomplish with this book? Like what is the overall purpose? Why should people pick it up?
What's sort of twofold. Yeah, I mean, I noticed there was a gap in the market, right? There's a lot of exciting things happening in the vegan industry, startups popping up, so many every year.
Mhm.
But I wanted to give them a resource in terms of how to form a marketing strategy, because anybody can open a business, but if you
Right.
don't have a marketing strategy, it's going to be harder for you to get a grasp on who your audience is, how to interact with them, and then of course make sales. So that's the purpose. So and the way that this book turned out is, I invited large corporations to participate, but none of them responded, or they were too busy to get back to me. So this is very much a small to medium size, um, I guess, focused book, because those are the
Right.
majority of the examples. Um, and so it's perfect for the startup founder, or if you're new to marketing, you'll learn all of those basics in the book. And then it's also my secret way of just converting more folks into either learning about the vegan lifestyle, or maybe even transitioning their business
Right.
into becoming vegans. Because if this gets in the hands of anyone running a business or any marketer, if even if they're not in the vegan industry, they'll learn out of the examples that, hey, there's a lot going on in this industry, and they're all doing cool things. So, and I intentionally put a section, it's in the last chapter, about businesses transitioning um, to become vegan, and how they are using that to market their businesses. So yeah, so I have a section on that as well.
So fascinating. Look at
So
David, he's thinking.
I was like, I gotta, because Meg is marketing. That's like
He's
that's her
It
percolating.
is my
deal.
thing.
Yeah, that's my thing. I'm more on the design side of that. We're doing this web design, web development. But what have you found to be the biggest difference between like a vegan marketing versus a traditional marketing? What's the fundamental differences?
Good question.
Yeah, I've been asked that so many times, and the answer
Well, never mind
is,
then. Never mind. Sue, it's fine.
um, yeah. Well, no.
I'm
It's
kidding. I'm
legit.
kidding.
It's
I'm
total.
kidding.
A totally legit question, and I'll say everybody is using the same tools. We have the same tools at our disposal. The only difference is with vegan businesses, depending on the type of business, you may have to do a bit more education around why you should buy this specific product. So, for example, for food, you have a food, or you have an animal alternative. The majority of the world is eating animals, so you might have to do some education around why. You might want to try a plant-based alternative,
Right.
whether that's animal cruelty, environment, health, et cetera, et cetera. Those reasons.
Yeah.
That a little bit more of that is going to be, well, I shouldn't say a little, like it really depends on the business. A little bit of it,
Right.
maybe a lot of it, will be part of that messaging.
Okay.
Interesting. I want to hear about your favorite vegan marketing success story because like you're like one of your top favorites, maybe not one you've mentioned before too.
Yeah, and there's one that I have told several times. If you have listened to me, yeah, you'll hear about Meredith Marin's um, story from vegan hospitality, and how she almost single-handedly made Aruba the the most vegan-friendly island in the Caribbean. So that's one of the ones that I really enjoy telling. One that I haven't before. So here's the average vegan's exclusive. Yeah. So Goddess Garden, if you're not familiar, is an organic skincare. I guess you could say it falls under beauty. They have home accessories as well. So they're one of the first vegan organic companies to sell sunscreen that I know of.
Ooh, okay.
And so a number of years ago, definitely before the pandemic, but I can't name the exact year, but they got involved in a Reef Safe campaign to try and educate people on why you shouldn't buy sunscreen with chemicals, because it's damaging to the coral, especially in places like Hawaii where there's coral here. And they invited, all the other sunscreen companies to participate, and none did. So they ended up doing this all themselves. And they basically created this e-petition advocating for this, for the removal of certain chemicals and sunscreens. And they had so many signatures, it crashed the server of Governor David Igee's, whatever their government website is, once they submitted the petition. And I thought that was awesome. And then they did an on the ground kind of announcement once he had agreed to sign whatever the law is. Sorry, I'm Canadian, right. So I'm not familiar with the terms there, but you know what I mean.
Right.
So did a whole campaign and press conference around it, and really amazing work. So the CEO of Goddess Garden, Nova Covington, she created a nonprofit because she found herself doing a lot of this work on behalf of the environment and of course the sea animals. So really amazing story.
That is amazing, because I love that it led to a nonprofit too. Like that's incredible. Wow. I love that. I've heard a lot about sunscreen too being horrible. So I love that there is more vegan sunscreen companies like out there promoting this information, because I feel like maybe that's something we should do a little episode about, David. Things like that I don't think people really think about. So
yeah,
it's one of those. Oh, yeah.
I have before all the craziness happened, I had planned a Disney World trip, and sunscreen was probably one of the hardest things to get figured out.
But now you know a company.
But now I do.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that, like it probably has chemicals, but why wouldn't it be vegan? Right? Right? And so when you think about that, it's like, well, yeah, I should look out and make sure I'm buying the vegan sunscreen, because who knows what ingredients they're putting in.
It's crazy.
Or testing they're doing with it.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just because it's cruelty-free doesn't mean it's vegan. So
that's true. I hate to ask about a vegan failure, like a vegan marketing failure, but there's got to be some out there.
Oh, out there for sure. In my book, I have one failure to success story, and I'm really glad that they framed it in this way.
Yes, I like that.
It's kind of my one failure story, but it's got a happy ending. So there's a company in Toronto, Canada called Vicado. They sell plant-based pet food, and they came across a number of years a study that showed that sled dogs did well on plant-based food. So they wanted to share these results. So what did they do? They posted a photo of sled dogs, and that did not fare well with their audience. They got a lot of backlash out of it, but they realized they had made a mistake. They obviously didn't intend to promote the sled dog industry. They just wanted to highlight the results of the study. So they apologized. They took the posts down, which I don't always recommend, because sometimes it's nice to show
your reaction.
You're not a perfect company. But they took the post down. They apologized, and in the end, they received a lot more, how should I say it? I guess loyalty and from their community. And so, a great example of a public relations turnaround, using, in a post that, they would have thought was maybe just your average social media post.
Yikes. I hate when those like things happen when you never even thought of the possibilities of that kind of reaction. Like, oh, I hate that. I hate that for them. Okay, so tips for new vegan businesses or someone thinking about opening a vegan business, because I have recently been looking for new job opportunities. And I, of course, went immediately to veganjobs.com. There's a little shout out to them, because I was looking at like what kind of vegan companies could I work for. And I see a lot of them, like a lot of small, tiny little vegan companies. And I just am so excited to see every time I go on there, it's a different company I've never heard of. So, what kind of tips would you have for these small, new vegan companies?
Well, when I work with clients, I always like to look at the basics of what they're doing. So my four basics are number one, website. I'm surprised at the amount of companies that will just launch on Instagram, and it's like that may work for you for a while, but you never want to rely on a social platform. I don't care if
Right.
it's free, with your business, because if it goes down for a day, that's your business. So number one, have a website. Make sure your company name, you've got the domain for it, and then on your website have a blog. I know
Mm-hmm.
not everybody does, and it's one of those tactics that seems boring. Who's going to read this blog? It's not about who's going to read this blog. A blog is a great way to boost your search engine optimization, also
Nice.
known as SEO. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why you have a blog on your site.
Yep.
Number three, social media. So not going to say which platforms you should be on because that's different for every business, but
Yep.
um, especially if you're starting out, try and reserve your name on all the possible platforms just to make sure that nobody else is taking it. Because if somebody else does take it and they've got the same company name, then now you're stuck with company name 123. So
Yeah, I've seen that so many
or
times.
underscore or whatever it may be, right? So
Right. Mm-hmm.
so social media for sure, easy way to engage with an audience. And number four, have an email list. So
Mm-hmm.
again, if your website's under construction, a social media platform goes down, you always want a way to contact your audience, and an email list is a great way to do that. So make sure, yeah, you're enticing people about why they should be added to your list, give them great information, and nurture that email list. And I call those my four basics. And then on top of that, you can always layer on depending on the budget that you have, or even the time and the resources that you have. And then all the other tactics you can learn from my book. So
Yes.
those are the
Go into
basics that I
detail in all
recommend.
kinds of things. Yes.
I know
Very detailed marketing tactics in the book to check out.
the
Yes, David.
sorry the nonprofit that I worked for, we whenever we had first for our own site, but also we had about 400 or 500 domains, at least when I was there. Sure, it's more now. Anytime we launched a new microsite, we snatched up every version of a domain, just to
Right.
prevent people from getting a hold of a version of it or a variation, including social media and stuff like that. That was the first thing we did, was to make sure we had that part of the marketing locked, so no one could,
Great.
especially being a nonprofit, a plant-based nonprofit, being a nonprofit, we would basically get under attack, and in some ways, and
Right.
to
Mm,
prevent people from having a version of our domain to kind of counteract us. We had to be very diligent about that. It also helped ensure we were able to control the narrative, of
Mm-hmm.
our own
yeah.
messaging, especially anybody who had a messaging to the antithesis of what we were trying to say. We always had that there and unlock. We knew at least we had that control.
I feel
Great.
like the people stealing similar domains to have like counteracting the information, that's such a vegan, not vegan specific, but I'm sure it's something that we deal as vegans, businesses deal with more than some other industries. That's so sneaky. Hate that. But I can see how that could be powerful. Yikes. That's a smart idea, especially if you put out sensitive information too. Like especially for a nonprofit. That's amazing. I want to hear about the vegan ink. I've been waiting for this question. So the book is printed on vegan ink. I just find this amazing. I don't know that, again, we're talking about sunscreen. Some people may not even think about vegan sunscreen. Nobody thinks about vegan ink. I mean, just don't. So please tell me about it.
Oh, thanks so much for noticing. Yeah,
Of
you're probably
course.
like the second or third person who has, but so yeah, so I self-published this book, and I was going to use Ingram Spark, which is probably the most well-known self-publishing platform in the world, or one of at least. And the first question I asked was if they use vegan ink, and they straight up said no. So, and I wanted this book to be vegan through and through.
Right.
And that was a deal breaker for me. So I went off and looked for, yeah, some other platforms, and Lulu, um, yeah, said that they've got vegan ink. They're also certified B Corp. And even though I was new to Lulu, they have been around for about 20 years. And so, yeah, of course, when I got my proof copy and saw that they put out really high quality books, yeah, I was really glad about that. So, yeah, it's one of those things that you wouldn't even think,
Right.
like, why would you use an animal version? But
Right.
you would be surprised. And I also want to point out Amazon does use vegan ink as well, around the
Oh,
world. So if you're thinking of just doing Amazon for a book, that's an option as well.
that is a good tip.
I did not know that.
Nice. Ooh, seriously, I was waiting to talk about that one. I thought that was great. I have some non-book related questions because I'm really excited for some of these. I saw that you aspire to eat vegan food around the world and blog about it. Come on, that's amazing. How's that going? Because I
I
would love
think
to
I
do that
have
too.
done three places. So a San Diego, um, I'm trying to remember if I did Toronto and Montreal, which is the last big trip I took 3 years ago.
Hmm.
Oh, actually, no, I skipped that. Because I wasn't really, I guess I didn't have destinations in mind when I went on that
Right.
trip. That's why. But I have done Calgary and I have done
Mm.
Victoria. So, yeah, so not too many places so far, but I'm planning on going to France
Oh,
sometime in the spring. That's going to be a big trip. So I will definitely report back after
Yes,
after
please.
that
yeah.
trip with the
Of
blog.
We
course.
actually just talked
And
to a, vegan travel agent. She said that France is one of the more difficult places. So
well, tell us
Yes.
how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too afraid of Paris. It is a bigger city, and I am, of course, going to be using Happy Cow
Yeah.
quite a bit. My aunt lives in the south of France, so I think that's where I will. I mean, we might
Okay.
just end up making our own meals. We'll have to see how it
Right.
goes,
Right.
because yeah, she's in a small town, so I don't imagine there will be many
really,
processed plant-based alternatives available there.
Right.
right.
Oh gosh. David and I would love to move to Canada. Okay. Like, let's just be real. So we want to hear about the vegan food scene in Vancouver.
I
What is it
applied
like?
actually once years
He
ago.
did.
Yeah.
Well, if you like the cold, it'll suit you
Don't.
right.
That's why we're not there.
Yeah. But in Vancouver, it's actually probably one of the most milder places in Canada, especially in
Oh,
winter. So yeah, I would say in the major cities, it's yeah, very vegan friendly. I haven't been to every major city, but the ones I have been to, yeah, like I said, Toronto, Montreal, Calgary, all very good. Victoria as well. And in Vancouver, we've got a quite a good scene here. Not too many vegan only restaurants, but there a lot that do have vegan options or a vegan
right.
menu. So, yeah, in terms of food, I think you'll do pretty well here, and the amount of or the diversity of the cuisine as well.
Ooh,
We're
yes.
lucky that we have that link to Asia. So there's a lot of Asian influence here. And then in terms of just the general community, we've got a couple of meetups that are not just for vegans, but
Right.
yeah, that make it really easy to meet new people. And then if you're an activist, there's quite a big community here that's involved in those things. So
Lovely.
yeah,
I love that. Well, if you ever come to Atlanta, we can give you plenty of recommendations. There's tons of things here. And
yes.
it's growing every time.
Oh
Like we
yeah.
just find out new places everywhere. But it's going to lead me to this question that's, I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but we have seen a few restaurants in Georgia use the word vegan in their name, but their menu is not fully vegan.
Mm.
What kind of weird marketing strategy is that? Like, why would do you have any idea why anyone would do that? it makes me oddly mad in a way that it doesn't upset David, but I'm just like rude.
It's it Okay, I have so many thoughts
I
around that.
know.
So here in Vancouver, we have a couple of places that call themselves vegetarian restaurants, but their entire menu is vegan. I don't have a
Okay.
problem with that because
Right.
because it doesn't matter what you eat, you can you can eat there.
Right. Right.
Right.
But when it's the reverse, like just not too long ago, maybe a few months ago, I saw in the news that a woman passed away because she had a dairy allergy and she thought she was eating a vegan product. And maybe it was not intentional on the part of the company. I
Right.
do know there's a lot of cross contamination that can occur between, if you're using a facility that also manufactures animal products, and then, you
Right.
say your product is vegan and you intend it to be so. That really scares me because if you've read my book, I reference Heather Landex's book, Inclusive, the New Exclusive, quite a bit. And she's a food allergist expert. And
Mm.
so labels, especially when it comes to restaurants, menus, food, anything that touches a person or can affect their health, you really got to explain
Yeah.
what you're serving, what you're offering. Because yeah, if there's any sort of risk of cross contamination, that's somebody's life that you have in your
Right.
hands, not just a potential customer that, they had a bite of a peanut and they had a flare up.
Right.
They realized, blah blah blah. Like, no, this is life or death. So if you're thinking about doing that, not serving vegan products and calling yourself a vegan establishment, please do not do that, and read Heather Landex's book,
Yes.
Inclusive, the New Exclusive. Because the more inclusive you can be with your establishment,
Mhm.
the more customers you will potentially have.
It's
I
actually
just kept thinking, like, if people went there thinking, so it says shrimp or chicken, but that doesn't, in our brains, if you're at a vegan place, they don't always change the word. Like sometimes it'll still say shrimp and we think, okay, it's vegan shrimp, right? Because that's such a thing. But if it's not, and someone has like a shell allergy, oh my
Yeah.
Lord, that's all I could think of was that is one, how, like, why would you use the word vegan if you're not? That doesn't make any sense, but like also you're just asking to hurt someone. I just find that
Yeah.
so disrespectful and irresponsible.
it's,
David.
we're talking about inclusivity. There we go. And having more options to bring some more people. There's a donut place called Revolution Donut in Atlanta, and Veg Fest years ago they had a booth where Revolution Donuts had like two or three options. They brought their options into the conference, into the festival, and they sold out multiple times. They kept selling out to the point where the people were basically, they had people coming in and going, just bringing more in. And now when you go there, it's probably about 75 to 80% vegan option and almost no non-vegan options.
I
It
love
just,
that.
once they realized that, well, we can sell the ever living mess out of vegan donuts, they would just
Mm-hmm.
now when you go there, like there's a lot more options now. There used to be like a glaze, a chocolate, and a sprinkle. Now
There's
there's
so many.
they'll have like a s'more one that has they use as a vegan marshmallows instead. And of course,
Oh,
people buy them. People non-vegans buy them. I
right.
was in line.
Right.
They have a bacon donut, just a real bacon donut. They had a bunch of vegan ones. Some guy came in and bought all the bacon and all the vegan ones. I was like, really? I was next. Like, you got leave one for me. But yeah, it's amazing how they had no options. They overnight they went from a hand like two or three to almost an entire vegan selection because they just realized how much of a market is for it.
There's not a
I
lot
love
of
that.
vegan donut places, and they make
No.
really, really
Oh my
good ones,
god,
like really good like combinations too.
the
I've
chocolate
literally
peanut butter
only been
banana.
there twice when they had some. Every time I show up, they're sold out, and it breaks my heart.
And then are you left
Oh,
with the crappy non-vegan options
Then
too?
I'm left with, I turn
It's
around
like,
and
why even bother?
I
Why even
know.
bother?
So sad. Yeah, I find parking in Atlanta takes me like a good
Ah,
20 minutes, and then I get in there, there's no donuts. It's happened a good 4 times, but it's worth it
oh
because
man.
that just means people are buying them. That's fine.
Yeah,
That's fine.
this is true.
Now you're making me want a donut, and
I'm
it's
going
like
tomorrow.
9 o'clock at
Yeah.
night.
I'll
Good
go
job.
tomorrow.
Okay, tips for new vegans. This is one of our last questions we usually ask because we are always trying to help vegans as they start this journey or people that are thinking about it. And I think this episode's going to go out in January or maybe early February. So, of course, it's going to have a bunch of people that are exploring being vegan. So, what are your tips for new vegans?
I would say, yeah, start with low hanging fruit, right? So, cut out the animal products that are easy, easiest to cut out that you don't really consume a lot of anyway,
Right.
and find substitutes for them. Obviously, that in the long term, processed alternatives are not going to be, they're not the healthiest, right? So
Right.
I call them like very good transition foods. Ultimately, you want to aim to learn how to cook a whole food plant-based diet. And I promise you, as someone who doesn't, I don't love cooking. I don't
Me
think I ever
neither.
will. I have learned to sometimes enjoy and
Yes.
tolerate it. So if I can get in the kitchen and know how to make some solid dishes, I think anybody can. That's really the key. And then if you're concerned about nutrients, so I'm one of these people that without meat, I'm very low on the iron, and so I supplement that. B12 is also very common, as is your omega threes. Just visit your doctor, tell them what you're doing, get some blood work done. They'll kind of see, yeah, if you're low on any nutrients while you're on this transition. And then if need be, there are plenty of very educated vegan nutritionists and dietitians and so on who can help you with the meal planning,
Right.
and the recipes, so that you are supplementing what you need, through food, and if needed with supplements. So those would be my tips.
Those are good tips too.
Very
I
good.
like the low hanging fruit because it is easy to start out just taking out what you don't like to begin with. Because if you're already thinking about going vegan, there's probably some kind of animal products that you're not a fan of already. Like it kind of feels like, oh, well, I mean, I guess I could give all these things up. So I like that whole taking steps to get there. It's not all or nothing. You don't have to be like me, where I went, crazy overnight, which was insane, but not everybody does that, right, David? David went overnight.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I was kind of a flexitarian, and I was like, this is stupid. I'm done. That was it. Like, I'm
Yeah,
good.
like I was, I guess technically pescatarian for many, many years, and never really gave up seafood, but it was never really a huge part of my diet anyway. Like I
Right.
probably could have done it faster. And then another thing I'll say is consume, documentaries, books, whatever sort
Yes.
of, follow influencers. That has helped me so much on my journey to really just, again, envision the goal, as being, yeah, living a vegan lifestyle. And I've actually, because I've consumed so many resources, I've compiled them all on my website, under my
Perfect.
list love page. So if you want to have a look at that list, it's all there. And I continue to add to it as
Oh,
more become available. So
I am definitely checking out that list because we need more people to follow and documentaries to watch and all of that important information. Um, you have a quote, it's at the end of your email, and I love it so much. I cut the crap out of communications for cruelty-free businesses. I love that. Please
thank you.
promote your regular business besides being an author, promote your actual company so that, people can find you.
Yes, so I'm a content writer, editor, and marketing consultant for cruelty-free businesses. You'll find all that at thecontentdoctor.co, and then information on, yeah, just general stuff, author services, and my book. You can find that with my name, sandranomoto.com, and I'm everywhere with my name as well, Sandra Nomoto. So really easy to find me.
You were like, I got all the social immediately that I needed to. I love that. So everybody can find you that way. But I really want to encourage people to get this book, and not just for your own knowledge, but also if you know of anyone that is starting a vegan business or even a business in general. There's a lot of incredible marketing information in there. But we have actually interviewed quite a few small vegan companies that I think would really benefit from this book. Even some of the like animal sanctuaries can use a lot of this information as well. So we're going to recommend it. I may even put out an email to the people we've interviewed to just be like, you should check this book out because it feels like this is going to help people elevate their businesses in a way that other marketing books might not, because it is very centered for vegans. So I'm excited to promote you to our people.
Of course, we'll have
Thank
links
you
to
so much.
we'll have links to the book, to cite everything in our show notes, as well as if you're watching on YouTube, the description
Yes.
box down below.
Is it always down below?
Yeah,
Should I need to learn where to point
Yes.
now.
Yeah, we're still learning this. Yeah, description box down below.
I never know where I am on
And
the
then-
screen. Maybe
and
that's
then,
why.
I need to. You don't watch our YouTube videos? You know where you are.
Listen. Fight with
It's all
you,
down below.
David.
I believe the like button's over here. Okay.
Look, at the very end, we get the, oh, now she's disappeared. We had a little kitty guest for anyone who's watching on YouTube. It should be like, if
She's right there.
tell me the timestamp of when the kitty comes on, and I'll give you a free prize or something, because it happens in every single
Don't make
video.
promises we can't keep. All right?
I know. Oh, this has been amazing. And I am excited to read more of the book. I haven't read the whole thing, but I have definitely read a lot of it, because I love marketing. It's what I do all day. So this is very much my thing. David literally was like, you can do this because this is your love. It's like,
I've been in the room where it happens, but I haven't, like, I'm not really the marketing person. Like, I'm usually I do the design, the website, so I go like, we should make it green. Okay, make it green. All right.
Which is a very important element of marketing. So,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
But
and I can't do that, so we need you. You're important. All right, so everyone needs to go find vegan marketing success stories, this amazing book, and find Sandra Nomoto all over everywhere and follow her. This has been wonderful. We really appreciate you being on here. We've learned a lot about vegan marketing, but also about Vancouver, and I'm pretty excited, and about Canada in general. So I'm excited to kind of venture that way sometime soon. I'll make David go with me.
I would love that. Yeah.
Deal.
When it's a little warmer, perhaps.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're crying in Georgia right now because we're about to have single digits, and we don't do that in the South.
No.
So this is traumatizing for us. We're going to stay inside for the rest of the year. Anyway, I digress. See, I just enjoy talking to you. This is fun. Find Sandra wherever you can, buy this book, and also share it with anyone and everyone you think would benefit from this. I'm sure you know someone. And again, we thank you for coming on here. This has been wonderful.
Well, it's been such a pleasure meeting you both. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. And that's it for this week.
All right. Well, until next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.